everyone, and welcome to this very first introductory video to ZBrush. So this is the first time or the first video in which I'm going to focus on ZBrush, and this video is going to be more or less aimed at somebody who is a total beginner in the program and more or less somebody that has never opened the program. So in this video, I'm going to try and go over the basics of the video and how it works. So I've made my UI more or less what just like the UI you would see on your side the first time you open the program. In my case, I'm working with ZBrush 4R7, so in case you're working with an older version or maybe even a newer version, if something is not the same, then I'm pretty sure it's going to be easy to follow. Alright, so let's start from the beginning. First time when you open up ZBrush, the thing that you're gonna see is this palette over here. This is called the light box. And usually what happens is as soon as you open the program, it automatically turns on. If we want to turn it off, all we have to do is click on light box over here or press the comma. The light box actually has everything in it. So you have your tools, your brush, textures, alphas, materials, noise, etc. So for now, I'm just going to close it down, as that is something that I would cover in a future video. Alright, so once we have this is our basic UI. Now, like, if this is the first time you're opening up this program, you might think that all of this is a bit overwhelming, because you can see a lot of options over here, a lot of buttons. But in all honesty, ZBrush actually has a very customizable UI and a very easy to use UI. Let me explain. First thing, like all of the programs, it has its menus over here. They're docked over here. So you have menus for alphas, brushes, colors, documents, draw, edit, file, layer. As you can see, all of these menus have some options. And the interesting thing with ZBrush is that except those menus, you have a few things called palettes. Palettes are basically this. So this over here, it's called a palette. And if you take a look at these arrows over here, the one going left and right, if you scroll above it, it says a divider. So if I click it, it closed. So these dividers are actually palettes in which you can dock your options for quicker viewing. So if I scroll over here, I have one on the right side. If I scroll on the left side, I have one over here. So if I click here, I get a divider on this side. So as you can see, I can customize. I can open both of them if I need more options. And in my case here, actually it's going to be the same on your side, but because my screen recording software is not picking up the bottom of my screen, you have one more divider on the bottom as well. So if I close both of these and click that one, I get one more divider over here. All right, let's get it down. All right, so what do we do with these dividers? Well, if you take a look here, you have the tool options. But the interesting thing is that if you go over in the options over here, you have tool as well here. But just see this. If I open texture, I have all the options for texture. Now, if I go over to tool, like before I go over to tool, make sure that all the options for tool, I can see them in my divider. Now, if I go over to tool, they open up here, but now they disappeared from the divider. The reason for this is that I have my options for tool docked over here. The way to dock or undock any of these options is quite simple. For example, if I need the options for tool, which are the ones that we're going to use the most, all we have to do is when we're here, we just have to press this little button over here. So you click and you drag wherever you want to have it. For example, drop it here and you have it as a tool. For example, if I want to have, let's say, stroke, I just click and drag. That way I have all of the options in that toolbar right in my divider for ease of use. If I don't like it here, or if I want to remove it, all I have to do is click this button and it's going to be reverted back to original place. So as you can see, it's a very flexible program. It allows you to put all the options that you need wherever you need them to. And that is just the scratching the surface. In reality, ZBrush allows you to take whatever option you want and put it wherever you want it. But I'm gonna try and cover that in a future video about customizing the UI. For now, I'm gonna try and keep it as vanilla as possible, so pretty much something like you would see on your side. Now, let's go over and try and see what we can actually do. Now, ZBrush is mainly used for adding details to geometry. So, for example, let's try and just click here and see what happens. So I'm going to click and drag, and well, I'm getting something, but it's a far-fetched from all of those nice looking sculptures we see made in ZBrush. It's basically a really jaggedy line. Now, why do we get this? Well, in reality, ZBrush is not a 3D software per se. It's a 2.5D software. What does this mean? Well, when ZBrush was started, it was started more as an artist 2D software. But as time progressed, it kind of, well, evolved to be this 2.5D. So what does this mean? Well, on this side over here, I have a few more options. Now, we're gonna go over these in more detail in a later video, but for now, I just wanna explain a few things. Like when I'm drawing right now, what I'm seeing here is mainly influenced, but from what I have set up over here. So I have a stroke. So this stroke, if I change it, I can, for example, use freehand, and now it's a more different approach. If I change this to a drag rectangle, it's going to drag just one piece and allow me to position it wherever I want it. So that's the type we have. Now the second thing, I'm going to put it back to dots. The second thing is the alpha. The alpha is pretty much gonna define what kind of a spread I have. So if I choose, let's say, any of these, let's try alpha 37 and just click and draw. Now we have a whole different situation over here. Now, before I continue on and explain the rest of the options, I have to note one thing. If you want to work with ZBrush, you would probably and most definitely have to get a pen or a pen pressure that you can use for sculpting. For example, the line I did here, I just did it with my pen, and the thing is, when I press it, since it's a pressure sensitive, the more you push on, the more it shows up. As you can see, we get something like this. So a pen would be a must. Alright, so let's get these out of the way. And since we're still here, I want to show you a few more other things that you can do here. So for example, I'm going to go over and draw something like this. Now, we can see that this kind of resembles, like it has some depth. That depth is coming from the alpha. And all the rest of the information here, like the red color or the look, are basically coming from the RGB in the material. Now, the things that I'm talking about is basically, they can be seen over here in this portion of the UI. So, depending on what you have selected, when you make a line, for example, I'm going to make one line and make note that here I have mRGB selected. That means now when I'm drawing or making anything, I'm putting my material and my color to it. Now the color is chosen over here. So if I choose white, I get white color, and the material, if I click it, I have quite a bit of different materials to choose from. For example, let me try one of my, well, I'm going to go with my RS Sky Metal. This one is a custom material, so you might not have it. So let's actually go with something you might have. All right, Reflect Red. All right, now I'm going to click and drag. And I get something like this. Now, I'm going to click off mRGB. And now I'm just going to click on RGB. I'm going to click and drag. And now you can notice that I no longer have this red, which is coming from the material, but I only have the color. And now if I change the color for, let's say, green, something like this, and do the same thing again, we can see that I have a green color. So this is because I have RGB selected. If I turn off RGB and I click on M, that means that no longer the color is going to be sampled. I'm only going to get my current material. So I'm going to click and drag and get something like this. If I put them back, both of them, so mRGB, we end up with something like this. So as you can see, it's very dependent on what you have selected over here to what you're going to get in your user interface. But again, this is a far-fetched from a 3D application. So how do we get our models to go in the 3D space? Well, let me just go Control Z, and now I'm gonna click this back to white, and let's see how do we get into 3D space. Well, that's actually quite simple. All you have to do is go into your tool palette, and from here you need to select what you want to work, or what kind of a tool would you like to work on. So I'm going to click over here, and now I have a few options over here of a pre-made primitives that I can choose. For example, let's try a sphere. So I'm going to click the sphere and click and drag anywhere. Now note one thing, because I have mRGB selected, that sphere has the same exact material as I have chosen here. The same would be if I turn off the mRGB or put it to RGB, I'm going to get a white sphere. So let's try it one more time. So RGB, click and drag. And now we can see that everything that's out of the sphere is white, everything is in, it's red. All right, so I'm going to go Control Z and mRGB one more time. All right, so I'm going to click and drag in a few more spheres, and you're going to see one thing. Everything looks like it's made in 3D, but the problem is that even if I pull outside, I actually cannot do anything else. I can't rotate around the software, I can't rotate around my sphere. I basically can just draw seemingly 3D spheres on a 2D canvas. The reason for this is, again, because ZBrush is a 2.5D program. So the way it works is once you make a object or 3D object that you would like to work on, you're actually going to have to make it a polymesh 3D object. So let me explain what this means. I'm going to press Control N to clear my canvas. So Control N. And again, I'm going to click, hold, and get this sphere in. Now, if I want to work around the sphere, what I have to do is go over here and press the Edit Object, or press the T object. The T key bind. So T, and we enter Edit. Now, when I click, I'm basically rotating around my sphere. Now, here is the other thing that I would like to cover in this introductory video, and that is the navigation in 3D. Now, unlike different softwares, ZBrush is more or less unique in the way it handles navigation through its user interface. Unlike other softwares like 3ds Max or Maya or Blender or any of the other ones, the way ZBrush kind of navigates is a bit wonky and straight out weird, especially when you're starting out. For example, if you just want to rotate around it, it's a simple thing. You just click and drag until you can get your object to rotate. For example, I'm just gonna show you the wireframe, which is, you can just click here or press Shift F and you can see the wireframe, because this way you're gonna see it better when it's rotating. So nothing too complex. But now, if I want to pan, I just hold down the Alt and drag around. And now here comes the weird part, which kind of takes a bit time to get accustomed to. But if you want to zoom in or zoom out, what you need to do is hold down Control, click, and let go of the control while you still have your pen clicked. And now, once you start, whoops, hold on a second. All right, my bad. You hold on Alt, you click, and you let go of Alt. And then when you pull back towards you, it zooms in, pull out, it zooms out. So hold on Alt, click, and then let go of Alt. That way you zoom in and zoom out. Now, granted, when you're starting out with ZBrush, it's going to take you a bit of time to get accustomed to it, but with time, it kind of actually gets to be like second nature, and you no longer pay any part to it, just do it systematically. So that's for how you rotate around your, or not rotate, but how you navigate around your 3D model. Now, here's the thing. If you want to do anything, if you click, you're going to notice that it says to enable sculpting, please convert this 3D primitive to a polymesh 3D. Something I said previously. So it's very easy to do it. All you have to do is click this button over here where it says make polymesh 3D. So click here, and now our model has been made a polymesh. And you'll notice one thing, that once you get your scroll, or not a scroll, but your arrow on top of the geometry, you're going to see these two red circles around it. And if you click, then you're going to start getting something. I'm going to press Shift F again so I turn off the polyframe. And now you're going to notice that I'm starting to change something. My sphere is starting to get some deformations. This is basically sculpting. So you take your sphere or whatever model you have, and you basically start brushing on top of it. And this is the base on how you can make elaborate models and whatnot. But for now, I wouldn't want to go any deeper, as this is an introductory video, but I just want to show you this so you can so I can explain just a few more options that I have over here. For example, by default, all of this changing of the surface is made by brushes. The default one is the standard brush, which can be chosen here. Now, if you click here, you have a plethora of different brushes that come with ZBrush, and all of them have a different kind of effect or what they do. But for now, I'm just going to stick with the standard. And like we saw, if we just go over our model, we get some definition. Now, if we go over and hold the Alt button, you're going to notice that at my cursor, I have this little minus happening. You can see it right here. Now, And there it is again. Now, this happens when I press the Alt button, and it means that instead of adding, it's going to subtract. So here we have a subtractive options happening. So we get something like this. So instead of ridges, now we have indentations. Now, this is controlled directly from here. By default, this comes with Z-add, so it's adding. But if you change it to Z-sub, that means that whatever you're gonna do is going to take away. So basically, you can look at this as you would a clay or a digital clay, something that you can play with, you can subtract, you can add until you get what you want. But again, I'm going to cover this in more detail in a future video. So for now, I just want you to take a few things from this introductory video. The first one is how would you navigate through your model or your UI. So you just hold on Alt, move it around, you let go of the Alt, you zoom in and zoom out. If you want to start sculpting or try out something, you have to be in your edit object and you have to make your model a polymesh 3D. Once you have these, you can go ahead and start some basic sculpting. Now, here's another thing. If, for example, you turn off edit one more time, and now you want to move around, but nothing happens, and you click and drag, this is what is going to happen. Again, you're going to start to pull what you made. So you're going to start pulling that tool that you made. And you might think, well, I just screw up all the work I did. Now what the hell am I going to do? Well, no worries, because you can just press Control N. That's going to clear your canvas. But all your work that you did here in the tool is still saved. So all you have to do is click and drag once, press T again so you enter edit mode, and you can continue painting where you left off. And again, just add whatever you want, subtract, add. Basically, whatever you want to do, you can do it that way. All right, so for now, I'm gonna leave you guys with that bit of information. Again, I'm gonna say try and just go around any kind of a model or any kind of a primitive, even a sphere. Try to rotate, zoom in, zoom out, and make sure you get accustomed to how it feels to navigate through the program. So that would be it for this very first video. In the next videos, I'm going to try to go more in depth as to what you can do with ZBrush.